Well, hello my lovelies, it's Murky Meg here. It's Wednesday the 10th of March, and in this video I'm going to try and dispel some of the untruths that were uttered out of both Harry and Meghan's mouths during the now infamous Oprah Winfrey interview. Now, if you haven't seen it already, I did a very early morning video straight after I had watched the interview in the very early hours of Monday morning. I was very tired, so please excuse if I drawled on a little bit, but a lot of people have watched it and a lot of people agree that this is an outright shambles. Whatever side that you go on, be it pro Harry and Meghan or anti Harry and Meghan, there were some massive whoppers in that interview. And it only takes a few clicks to dispel those lies spoken. And this is what I'm going to attempt to do in this video. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to tackle all the lies. I'm going to try and do my damn best. I really am. But if you haven't seen my previous video, I've popped a link up in the right hand corner. Click that and it will take you directly to it. Now, before I speak about all of the debunking of the lies, I want to just touch on what Buckingham Palace had to say. Yesterday, they released a statement. It took them 2 days to do that. Apparently, the Queen was waiting. She didn't want to be rash. And when I first read the statement, I thought, oh, is that it? But then after dissecting it piece by piece, you realise that it's actually a beautifully written statement that says more within those 61 words than it ever could. So the first line is, the whole family is saddened to learn the full extent of how challenging the last few years have been for Harry and Meghan. In other words, they were completely clueless about what had happened, how they felt and what had gone on. Issues raised, particularly that of race, are concerning. While some recollections may vary, they are taken very seriously and will be addressed by the family privately. Basically means, we don't agree with you. While some recollections may vary is a very polite British way of saying, we don't agree with you actually. And by saying that these matters will be addressed privately, it is drawing a line under the matter, saying we'll deal with this, that is the end of it. It then goes on to say, Harry, Meghan and Archie will always be much loved members of the family. Again, that is a very cleverly worded way of saying, we still love you, but we are utterly ashamed of you. In my mind, there was nothing more that they could have said other than that. And if they said any more, then it would have just blown everything out of proportion. And I think now is time that they feel like, I've had enough of this nonsense. Go and live your life in California. Stop it. And I think that's what everybody around the world now needs to understand. They wanted privacy. They wanted to move on to their own life. They are saying that they want to thrive and that they are thriving. If you're thriving, why are you going on worldwide global TV absolutely berating your own family? You have imploded the monarchy, and this will go on for generations. This interview will go down in history. It's actually more explosive than the Diana interview with Martin Bashir. A plus note, ratings weren't that good either. So the first thing I want to talk about is when she said that she didn't know anything about Prince Harry. She said this in the engagement interview. I find that quite laughable, to be quite honest, because her childhood friend has come forward and said she was literally obsessed with the royal family, that she had books on Diana. She was pictured outside of Buckingham Palace. She also, in the next sentence, said that prior to meeting Harry, she was friends with Princess Eugenie. If you don't know, Eugenie is Prince Harry's cousin. That in itself is quite a shocking thing. How on earth were you not supposed to know who her cousin was, who was the most eligible bachelor in the world, quite frankly? You know, and there have been people stepping forward and saying, well, actually, she was on the lookout in London after her divorce for a famous British male. Well, she certainly got one, didn't she? And with regards to them or her not doing her homework, in Finding Freedom, Omid Scooby actually writes this. In describing their blind date, he says naturally both parties in this blind date did their homework with a thorough Google search. And then a little bit later on, he says that he liked what he saw but didn't necessarily think of drinks as anything more than a chance to be introduced to a woman he found attractive. He certainly could not have foreseen that she would be the woman he would one day marry. For what Meghan may have seen online could have easily convinced her to call the whole thing off. What now transpires when you do a Google search is in fact that Meghan was able to fly over to Canada to visit Jessica Mulrooney. She also had Ellen visit her at Frogmore Cottage. Let's not forget Hillary Clinton paid a visit too. They had Eddie Redmayne and his wife visit them at the Cotswold bolt hole that they had before Frogmore. They stayed at the Clooneys, not only in Lake Como, but they also reportedly stayed at their Cotswold retreat as well. And we really can't forget about the rumours of their parties when they were at Kensington Apartments. They used to have fireworks soirees that would go on all night, friends and family coming and going. And there were reports that the residents that were already within Kensington Apartments had to complain. She claimed that she was totally in the dark, that she was very ill prepared, that she had no training, nobody held her hand, nobody sat down and told her how to eat, how to cross her legs, what to do. That is a load of baloney. She was given the most respected aide that had been there for many, many years. Very well known about protocol, Samantha Cohen. She's a 17-year Buckingham Palace aide. She's the Queen's former secretary and she's highly respected. She was given her to guide her through the very early moments of her becoming part of the royal family. She was given the task of training Meghan Markle, and she says that she didn't receive any training whatsoever. In fact, she even had to Google the national anthem. One, she lived in Canada for many years, which is part of the Commonwealth. Are you telling me she didn't know the national anthem? She even said that she was unaware that she had to curtsy to the Queen. Where on earth has this woman been? She seems and sounds like an extremely naive child. Now, obviously, in this interview, she speaks about her very deep, dark, damaging thoughts and how that affected her, and that she felt that she had gone to Buckingham Palace and that nobody helped her, that she was refused help. That doesn't sit right with me either, because she would have been given the best medical help if she had asked. I don't believe for 1 minute she was refused help. I'm not doubting that she felt that way. Everybody is allowed to have their own opinions about how she felt. That can't be proven either way. She can say those words, but you can say, well, really, you were given no help? She picked her own antenatal team. She vetted experienced oncologists and midwives to address Archie's birth. Are you telling me that none of those experienced midwives and medical team didn't assess her mood, or she didn't feel that she could talk to them? Because quite frankly, if you can't trust your own medical team, you really are not doing it right. She also says that she was incredibly lonely during that particular time, that she wasn't allowed to go out to lunch with friends. Well, she had friends come to visit at Frogmore Cottage. In fact, Daniel Martin went to visit her around the same time as the fateful event at the Royal Albert Hall, where she says that as the lights go down, I sat and sobbed. Daniel Martin posted everything about the avocado, about how wonderful and gracious the host was, i.e. Meghan Markle. She was also seen going to her New York baby shower. She'd been to Lake Como. She had gone out with friends. There's a picture of her with Christian Jones, which he was heading up her PR team here, going out to lunch to meet her new PR team. It's here. She'd gone out to lunch. She was allowed to go out. This is absolute nonsense, quite frankly. She guest edited Vogue. And don't forget that in the very few days before Archie's birth, Harry whisked her away to a very, very expensive and secluded spa. She painted the narrative that she was in a gilded cage where she was trapped, that she couldn't go anywhere, that it was almost like she was under armed security guard within Frogmore Cottage. And that's just not correct. What probably happened is that she had to get security clearance to go to places. That is probably ultimately true because they had security. They had Met police officers guarding them, and they would have had that all the time. You're telling me that she just couldn't pop out? I don't believe it for one moment. And during the engagement interview, she said, and Harry said, that he'd prepared her. They'd talked about what royal life entails and that she was under the understanding that it was going to be great, fantastic. She was ready. She was going to hit the ground running. Again, polar opposites of what she said. Now, maybe he did describe. Maybe he missed a few things out. But what human being on this planet doesn't know what royal life entails? It's not glitz and glamour and walking down the red carpets 24/7. You've got to be able to go to perhaps, say, Lincoln High Street and meet a few people and shake a few hands. Ultimately, I don't think she realised that it wasn't a glamorous life. Yes, it's better than everybody else has it because you've got everything at your beck and call. This woman had everything at her feet, yet it really wasn't good enough. I take umbrance with this whole nobody helped me. Why on earth couldn't she get the help herself? She was not controlled in that respect. I think probably what had happened is that they didn't want to admit to the family, which Harry did actually say, I was ashamed and I didn't tell my family. But she went to HR. Now, you don't do that. Why not just go and get your own help? In fact, Doria, her own mother, is a trained therapist. Let that sink in for a moment. And are we really supposed to believe that no help could be found? Harry has set up the charity with William and Kate heads together. And are you saying that he had no avenue to get help himself? These are not children. They're not children that needed to be guided hand by hand and spoon-fed. They are adults and they make up their own minds. Why on earth did he not just say, right, I'm going to get help. I'm going to take you to the Priory and this is what we're going to do. I think this all stems down to the issue of Archie not getting a title, and they were extremely bitter about that. We heard in the news at the time that they didn't want a title for Archie. In fact, Omid Scooby tweeted about it. On the 8th of May, he tweeted, as we expected, Harry and Meghan forgone a courtesy title for their child, all part of giving him a normal life as possible. Love that Doria was there when the Queen met Archie for the first time at Windsor Castle today. And now they're saying, well, it wasn't us that didn't want the title. In fact, it was Buckingham Palace said that they couldn't have a title. Well, in fact, if you actually did a little bit of research, and Harry would have known this, only the sovereign's grandchildren get titles. And because we're in a very tricky situation, we have great-grandchildren. They are not automatically given titles, except when they are a direct lineage to the heir of the throne, i.e. William's children. Now, it was changed slightly because of the fact that they didn't want, if William and Catherine had a girl, they didn't want it to seem sexist. So they changed that to include both male and female heirs. That was all that was changed. They are the only great-grandchildren allowed to have titles. Now, when Charles ascends the throne, he will become the king, and his grandchildren will all have titles. Therefore, Archie will become a prince, if they so wish, once Charles ascends to the throne. It's nothing to do with them deciding that he wasn't white enough. It is the letter of patent. So it's pretty ludicrous for them to claim otherwise, when in fact Harry would have known this. And again, this is just them twisting the lies to suit their narrative that they are the perpetual victim. And I find it quite laughable that only a few weeks ago, the media was running a story, in fact, that Harry had spoken to his grandma and he said that he wouldn't do anything to embarrass the Queen. Well, that sure blew up in their face, didn't it? They also took umbrage that Archie wasn't going to get security, when in fact he wouldn't have got security because they would have been with him. They were stepping down as senior royals. Therefore, we the taxpayer are not responsible for their security. And to sit there and whine that they had to go and get jobs because daddy wouldn't pay for security makes them seem like privileged snobs, quite frankly. They are adults. Pay your own way. Him saying, well, I inherited my title. I inherited this, so therefore I should have got security. Look, mate, nobody's feeling sorry for you because you live in a $14 million mansion. It's also very strange that Meghan mentions these holidays parties. She said that everybody knows about them, that the palace invite all the royal reporters and they have a jolly old time, and that is how things are made. So if you give them a party, you'll get positive press. The whole of the royal rota is literally up in arms going, huh? I've never been invited to these parties. She claimed that her passport, keys, driving licence were taken away. Yet she had been going everywhere. She went to the New York baby shower. She went to the US Open. She'd gone to Amsterdam just before she announced that she was pregnant. They had a boozy, long weekender out there in Amsterdam. Are you telling me seriously that she didn't have access to her passport? They'd visited the Clooneys at Lake Como. They'd visited Elton John as well. They flew everywhere. They went to Ibiza. You have to have a passport. You know, sugars are screaming, but they flew private. No, irrelevant if you fly private. You still have to have a passport to travel. It's a legal requirement. The only person that doesn't require a passport is the Queen, because she issues the passport. She's literally on the passport. Then there's the issue where she dropped the clanger, where it was almost a giddy secret telling. We got married 3 days before. Nobody knew about it. Well, that's a downright lie. What it was a rehearsal. In the UK, you have to be married in a place that has legal authorisation from the local council. You have to have a licence to be married in that place. Kensington Palace doesn't have one. You also have to have 2 witnesses. They didn't have one. And in fact, somebody has spoken to the Archbishop of Canterbury and said, no, it was just a rehearsal. What that was a power play by Meghan Markle to literally stick a finger up to the British public, say, you paid all that money for a wedding, but in fact, we were married before, so ah ha 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 ha. And quite frankly, it's childish, and it was debunked within minutes. And this issue of Harry teaching his son to ride a bicycle, because he never rode a bicycle when he was younger. Oh, please, Harry, there's pictures everywhere of when you were young, riding a bicycle with Charles and Diana. Knock it off. The next day, a few more clips were released where she said, I didn't know Samantha Markle, I'm an only child, I haven't seen her for, 19 years now? Well, no, pictures to prove it. Samantha Markle said, well, she was at my graduation. It's just lie after lie after lie, isn't it? It also, you've got to take this issue with the whole skin tone thing. Meghan said it was numerous conversations, and she said it happened while she was pregnant. Then Harry later on, who quite frankly really didn't look very comfortable, and it is my opinion that he was quite shocked that she spoke about this, and you could tell because it was a flash of anger, and I don't think she was even supposed to mention that, and I think he felt quite shocked that she had. But he said it happened early in their relationship, which was it? And then we have this bone of contention about who made who cry. Now, this is the stickler. She says that everybody knew that it was in fact her that was the crier, and in fact Kate made her cry. When Camilla Tominey, who writes for The Times, has piped up and said that's not the case at all. We have heard from insiders of the palace that this actually happened. In fact, in Finding Freedom, Scooby's hagiography, he says that in fact nobody made anybody cry. There are 3 different sides to this story, and somebody needs to sort it, because quite frankly, Meghan Markle has dragged down the monarchy with all of this, and she's put Kate in a really bad light, when in fact all it was a little tiff maybe, but it's blown out of proportion again because she has an agenda to bring the monarchy down. Now remember, never tick off a narcissist, because they will sabotage everything that you hold dear. And sabotage they have. That is as far as I have delved at the moment. I'm sure that as it comes around and round and people are going to dissect it even more. But quite frankly, I am appalled that Oprah Winfrey didn't challenge Harry and Meghan on anything. She was there to literally bombshell everything out of this interview. Well, quite frankly, that's what she was there to do, wasn't she? She was a sympathiser. Although I think she did quite well, I do think she didn't press them on any of their claims. And I think a good interviewer needs to. She didn't hold them accountable for what they were saying. She just let them say it. Now, one thing I will say, this is their truth. It is not the truth. And I think that really can't be said enough. They knew that the royal family would not be able to clap back in a way that they really should. They would have known that. They would have known exactly how this was going to go down. And I'd really like to be a fly on the wall in Montecito right now. I'd love to know if Harry is feeling any guilt whatsoever. We know Meghan won't be, because narcissists don't show empathy. They don't hold guilt at all. They literally want to burn everything to the ground because they can't accept it. I found this amazing quote about narcissists and sabotage, and it was about a female narcissist. It says, a female narcissist will sabotage those they are envious of. They encourage in a great deal of relational aggression and undermine and extinguish those they perceive to be threats. This means you'll find them underhandedly working behind the scenes to one-up you, sabotage your relationships, spread rumours, stage a smear campaign, or ensuring that any attention or recognition that would have been paid to you gets outsourced to them. In a nutshell, that is exactly what this interview has done. So I would love to know your thoughts on all of this. Apparently, we are being viewed by the world as terrible people in the United Kingdom for what we did to Meghan Markle. And I say, open your eyes and listen to the people that have been following this for far too long. So I would love to know your thoughts. Thank you very much for watching. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, hit the notification bell, and also that like button. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all of my followers for all the tips and all the emails, DMs that everybody sends to me. It really is greatly appreciated. So thank you very much for watching once again.